we are going to be making body oils today out of redwood, the trees that are surrounding us here on this land, and mugwort. So you guys have piles of redwood and mugwort in front of you, and there are just enough scissors for all of you. So start cutting them up. Whenever you're making any kind of herbal medicine, no matter what medium you're pouring over it, if you're making a tincture, it's going to be alcohol. If you're making a tea, it'll be water. We're making an oil. You want to cut up your plant matter as finely as possible, because then more surface material will come in contact with the medium and your medicine will be stronger. So just do your best. No big deal if your cuts are kind of big. When I'm home now, because I make oils in such large amounts, I just have gallons going at a time, I use a blender. Because just sitting there with my knife and cutting board got really tedious. So that was like revolutionary for me last year. But if you're just making a small amount, like we're doing these little half-pint jars, then scissors are more than sufficient.
Do you want the stems as well?
And I would leave the stems out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, there's enough leaf and needle material here to fill your jars, and those have the stronger medicine in them. So we're making a fresh plant-infused oil, which is my preferred method. And I also don't like to use heat. A lot of people just put their herbs and their oils together on a low setting on the stovetop for a couple days, and that will suffice, but I just like to keep heat and sunlight away from my oils. You know, they do go rancid. Also, a lot of people put them in the sunlight while they're steeping. I don't like to do that. Sometimes I'll put it under the full moon if I think about it and it feels right, but in general, I'm keeping my oils indoors in a cool, dark place and letting time do the work. So I steep for 1 moon cycle, or about a month. If I can harvest and make my medicine on the new moon or full moon, then that's great because it helps me remember when to steep that out. But if not, then I'll just make a note somewhere of when I made the medicine, and about a moon cycle later I'll decant or strain it out. Some people do 2 weeks, some people do 6, so I just meet in the middle.
Is there any benefit to doing it longer?
I don't know if there's a benefit to doing it longer. You could maybe experiment. Okay. It's definitely possible that your medicine will be stronger, but you know, if you smell it after 4 weeks, it's done its job. It's in there. And I actually check in with my oils pretty often. I don't just close it up the day I make it and then 4 weeks later go back to check it, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So while you guys are cutting the herbs up, and if you want, you can grab a jar or 2 for yourself to start gauging how much of the plant material you'll need. You want to fill your jar up about 3/4 of the way. And again, you can grab 2 if you want. There's enough for everyone to take 2 home.
What kind of oil do you use? Thank you so much.
I use olive oil.
Olive oil?
You really can use any kind of carrier oil. But olive oil is readily available. It's easy to find organic. It's fairly preservative. And I love the way it feels. It doesn't have too strong of a scent, so whatever aromatic plant you put in it will definitely overpower. Like, you can use coconut oil if you'd like, because it's cooling. So in the summer times, I usually make a lavender coconut oil to just, you know, help cool down after a day at the river or whatever. But it smells like coconut. You know, that's such an overpowering scent. Jojoba oil is expensive. It's the most expensive, but it's also the most preservative, and it stays on the skin longest. So if you're making an oil more for perfumery reasons, like jasmine flowers someone was talking about in my class this morning, then jojoba would be better.
What about sweet almond oil?
Yeah, you can use almond oil. Really anything will work. Grapeseed, yep. Yeah, I have an ebook available on my website about herbal body oiling, and I tried to really research carrier oils for that, and it was just too overwhelming. There's too much conflicting information, and I finally figured that we can all figure our own selves out as far as which kind of carrier oil we prefer to use. I want to talk about the two main body systems that herbal body oiling benefits. And the first and the most noticeable is the nervous system. There's something about the way fat interacts with the body, with the skin, that chills you out right away. You can drink all the lavender tea you want. It's not going to calm you as much as oiling your body is going to. I haven't found that any herb I take internally helps to drop me into a state of relaxation faster or more efficiently than herbal body oiling does. So I do it every few days. You can do it whenever you feel a crisis moment has been presented, or you can do it more preventatively like I do every few days. And I prefer full body oils, so if you have a bathtub, that's a really great way to get your whole body oiled. I don't. So what I do is I put my hair up, I lay a towel down, and I just sit there and just slather head to toe, face included. Most of us, our faces do fine with oil. It's kind of like scary. You know, you think your face is going to get too oily, you're going to break out or something, but that rarely happens. And most of us are holding tension in our jaw. A lot of people have sinus issues and headaches, so I can't say enough about how good it feels to bring your oil onto your face. Some people like doing it on their scalp, but yeah, you're going to have really greasy hair for a while, so keep that in mind. But when I do my herbal body oiling practice, as I was saying earlier, I do like to have a movie or a podcast or a TV show, Netflix, on, because it kind of keeps me there for longer. Just massaging myself, like getting to know my body in that way. It's really, I think, an overlooked part of a practice like this is you really get to know yourself. Last fall, I found a hard lump in my armpit, and it was red and it really hurt, and I realized pretty quickly, like, oh, there's something going on here. This is pretty serious. So I went into the ER, and she was like, oh, a lump in your armpit, like, when did it develop? And I was like, yesterday, for sure. I know, because I rub every inch of my body every few days. It developed yesterday. And she's like, oh, okay, so it's not like cancer, some big deal. And it turned out to be just an infection, a staph infection from shaving my armpit, a little nick. Staph lives on our skin all the time, and there happened to be some bacteria right there that got into it. Yeah. But it felt really good to like know my body that well and be able to give her that answer, and that's just something that's developed over years of having this as a regular practice. So we all absorb fat in different ways on our skin. A lot of people, my sister, a few of the women who were in my class this morning, oil after they shower. I oil before I shower because I can't oil and then put clothes on, or the clothes are done. But it seems to work for a lot of people, so you can just see what happens for you. When I oil and then shower, what happens is that like this top layer of oil gets skimmed off, but a bottom layer stays on my skin and continues to absorb throughout the day. I can very much feel it. It feels really good.
How long do you wait between oiling and showering?
I wait as long as I can before I shower. If I can, that's where like the Netflix comes into play. If I have enough time, I can just kind of sit there and just keep slowly rubbing my body. But sometimes it's like I gotta go, so I just jump in the shower right away. Either way, it's
soap
helpful.
after or no?
No, I don't use soap. I mean, like on the parts that I need soap, but not on my whole
on your
body.
skin. Yeah. Wait for it.
Yeah, like here at the gathering, I've been taking the oil into the shower with me and just oiling real quick and then turning the shower on and soaping off and using the water to get the oil off as quickly as I can.
How far do we want to fill up the jars?
About 3/4 of the way is how high you want your jar filled. Yeah, that's perfect.
What about equal parts?
You can do whatever you want. Like, I think a lot of people here, like a lot of people who seem to be attracted to working with herbs in general and to herbal body oiling, I'm really empathic. I am a highly sensitive person, or an HSP. About 20% of any population of any animal species is considered highly sensitive. And it doesn't mean that you cry all the time, although many of us do, myself included. It means that your nervous system is really highly sensitive to the normal stimuli that comes at it every day. So for me, just any normal day, like just taking my daughter to school, picking her up again, running errands, I get home and I'm like fried and totally overwhelmed. So herbal body oiling has been the practice that keeps me grounded and keeps me sane and helps me recover after a day like that. But also over time, I feel like it kind of builds up this like etheric aura around you that just helps you process better the sensory stimuli that comes at you in the moment, so that you don't have to like recover later or work it out later. The trait of high sensitivity runs in families, and my sister is also very much an HSP, or highly sensitive person. You can find the quiz online too if you just like Google that phrase, highly sensitive person. They have one for adults and one for kids, so it's really helpful for parents with that kind of child.
I think the oiling would help. My 4-year-old's highly sensitive.
Yes, oiling is great for kids. Yeah.
And this would be safe to use on them as well?
Yeah, I would do St. John's wort
Okay.
as my first choice because it's so relaxing.
For children?
But yeah, you could use this for kids. What was I saying? Okay, my sister. So she and I are very different HSPs. Like, I'm really mellow and just kind of always have been, and she can be more like agitated and anxiety ridden with how sensitive she is to the world outside. So her and her boyfriend own a business, and you know, owning a business is pretty high stress. And I was talking to her about it all last year, and I was like, you know, you were just doing such a good job, like holding it together with all the stress you've been through with the business this year. You haven't had any like major emotional meltdowns or like cut anyone out of your life for no real reason, or you know, these things we tend to do when everything builds up so much and we totally freak out. And I was like, you should be like herbal body oiling every day to just help you with that. And she was like, Amber, I have been for the last year. That's why things are going so well. And I feel the same way about myself. I used to have so much more anxiety and insomnia and major emotional freakouts and like, oh my God, I have to change my whole life because this isn't working right now. And I've just become a lot more grounded and like measured in my approach to my life and to interacting with the world since I've been doing this. So the nervous system is really the main interface that is being nourished when you're using body oils. And I always say, if the only thing you have around is a stick of butter, melt it down and rub that in. That is going to help you. Having the herbs infused into your fat is very helpful, and you get the added benefit of the medicinal properties of the plants. But if all you have is a jar of olive oil, then use that and you will feel better. It will help you. So the other system that's really benefited is the lymphatic system, which is so important for women because we have breasts that are very near our lymph nodes in the armpit, and the lymph needs to constantly be moving, but unlike the circulatory system, it does not move on its own. We need to be the ones to move it. So you can look on YouTube to find specific techniques for lymphatic massage. There's something called manual lymphatic drainage that has specific techniques, and there's plenty of YouTube videos about it. And if you have like a real issue with your lymph or breast cancer in the family or something, that you might want to learn those. But every time I oil, I make sure I pay a lot of attention to my armpits, my breasts, my groin and inner thighs, and through here, the neck. This is like a part of our body that we all just don't think about, especially when we're massaging ourselves or getting a massage. But I had a massage therapist years ago be like, I give you permission to rub the front of your neck. And I was like, oh, thank you. You know, I never think about that. And she said that that's a main part of her practice because now we're all driving and on our computers and on our phones. And so this is a really important part to pay attention to as well. So keep that lymph flowing. I mean, long term, that can have really profound preventative effects.
Yeah. I can see that. I do dry brushing, which moves the lymph, but it really can feel a difference in your body.
Yeah, I've never really done dry brushing, I guess, because I do the oiling so much. But the herbalist Susan Weed specifically recommends yarrow oil for breast massage if you have a history of breast cancer in your family or it's something that you're worried about. She says that yarrow can help create a perimeter around abnormal cells that might start growing and just kind of stop them in their tracks. Any questions before we get into what to do at this point in the oil making?
How do you moisturize your skin? Do you moisturize your skin on a daily basis beyond oiling with an herbal oil, or?
No, I only use oils to moisturize. I don't use lotions or any water-based products. I mean, nothing really works better than oils. Like your body wants fat on it. It doesn't want the water-based stuff as much.
Do you then oil with just a regular oil in between days where you're not using a plant or an herbal oil?
No, I mean, I only have herbal oils around. Tons of them everywhere. And I don't always moisturize, I guess.
Okay.
It's not important for my skin to do it daily.
I take Epsom salt baths to detox regularly. Can I put the oils in the tub with me, or should I do
I combine Epsom salts with oils.
You can combine them.
When I bathe, for sure.
Meditation, I think it would be nice to add oils to the tub.
Oh yeah, that's so lovely. And if you have a bathtub and it's a practice that you are in, perfect way to get your body oiling in, much less like labor intensive than the towel method that I use. And if you do, though, use a towel, if you're going to do it like that, you need to replace the towel pretty frequently.
Yeah, they get really soaked.
They get very soaked, and it can go rancid pretty easily once it's like come in contact with that cloth. So that's a whole thing with making oils, is that you just have to throw cloth away that comes into contact with it. Like when we strain it out, we're going to use muslin cloth or cheesecloth or something like that. They can't be reused. They just need to be thrown away. When I'm making gallons and gallons of oil at home, I just have to use paper towels to clean up afterwards. Another way that I use oils is nasally. It's an Ayurvedic practice. Ayurveda in general has a very strong tradition of herbal body oiling. It's called Abhyanga, and they also recommend that you do it every day for all the reasons that we've talked about here. But they do nasal oiling, so I bought a product at an herb store last year, and it's sesame oil with peppermint in it, and I just use it whenever I feel like I'm getting a headache or I have allergies to the cedar pollen in the wintertime, and it feels really good. I do the neti pot a lot too, so it kind of feels like it's moisturizing and replenishing after like the harsh cleansing of the salt water going through the nasal passages.
So you put oil through your nose?
It's not really through. You just do like a drop or two on each side and kind of lean with your head back for a few minutes to let it absorb and maybe like take a deep inhale.
Okay.
And then another way that I use oil in my daily life is oil pulling in the morning. Do you guys know about oil pulling? You do?
The coconut oil?
I do coconut oil,
I've done it before in my mouth. What is it?
So it's also an Ayurvedic practice, and the way that I was taught by a woman at the Women's Herbal Symposium years ago, who's a dentist and an Ayurvedic practitioner, is to do it first thing in the morning. This is the one piece I see missing from a lot of guides online. People just do it at any time of day, but she was very like, no, you do it first thing in the morning.
Before you do it,
drink water, eat anything, put chapstick on. So you take a spoonful of oil. In Ayurveda, sesame is traditional, but you can, like with body oiling, really use anything, and I prefer coconut. And you just put it in your mouth and kind of swish it around and keep it in there for about 20 minutes. I kind of dove as deep as I could into the scientific literature around the timing on this, and no one knows for sure the right amount of time, but 20 minutes seems to be where everyone meets in the middle. And that's what she taught me, so that's what I do. And again, like the steaming, people make some pretty radical claims about what it can do, but what the science supports is that it for sure really cleanses your mouth and pulls the bacteria out of there. And your gums are intimately connected to the rest of your mouth, and if your gums are diseased, you're very likely to start degenerating in other organs and other parts of the body. So keeping the mouth super clean is so important. And sometimes you just have like that strong taste in your mouth when you wake up in the morning. It will be gone after you oil. You spit it out. Yeah, you definitely spit it out because it's considered pretty toxic at that point.
Even
Before the tongue scraping? Yeah. Yep, first thing. So I have my coconut oil with me at this gathering to do it. I think that the one thing I've really noticed is that it seems to keep me well. I don't get sick as often as before I was oiling. And it just feels good and tastes good. People say it whitens your teeth too. I'm not sure if that's true. Maybe.
I know, I've heard that
Great
too,
way to
but
get
I don't
people
know.
to do things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your mouth definitely feels so clean afterwards.
Yeah.
That
It
whole,
does.
it really cleans.
Yeah,
It
your
takes a
mouth
minute to
feels
get
great.
used to, but then once you do it for about a week, you'll be like, oh, I really like this.
Yeah. At
Coconut,
first you
but
might be
also
like,
sesame.
what? So you guys can keep working if you have more to do, but in a moon cycle or so, which will be easy to remember because it was the new moon a couple nights ago, right? So at the next new moon, in July, you can get your jar out, and we will pour oil over these, of course, before you go. And then you find a jar of the same size, a strainer that will fit over the mouth of your jar. So, like at home with my gallon jars, I have a huge strainer that I use. And then just for an extra layer of strainage, some kind of cloth. This is cheesecloth. You can use muslin cloth that you get at a fabric store. Tea towels, cotton tea towels work really well. And you just, take this, it's going to be full of oil, and pour, and it'll strain through. And if I can, I try to set it up so it stays there in a safe way and can just sort of drain all day. You can then take this and squeeze it out. Some people don't like doing that because you can squeeze whatever water was in the plant out into it, and that can cause mold later. But with such a small amount of oil, especially if you're going to use it, which I really recommend you do, use the oil. It's so easy to make another one. It's so easy to let something just sit on your shelf, especially if you're trying to make it last, but use your oils. So easy to make another one. It's probably not going to mold, but let's talk about mold, because that is the one issue that can arise from making body oils. So the first thing I do to prevent mold, it can be caused by air or water, is every day for the first week or so after I make my oil, and I think it's probably going to be less with such a small amount like this, but with my big gallons I need to do it every day for at least a week. Take a chopstick or a butter knife or something and slowly stir, because air bubbles will come to the surface. So you want to just try to get rid of as many air bubbles as possible. I've noticed with my gallons, I'm never going to get rid of all the air bubbles, so I try to not be too crazy about it. But the more you can get rid of, the better. And once you're done stirring every day, top it off. Pour more oil over the top. You want there to be no air between the top of the oil and the bottom of your lid. So you're really, really filling it up there. But what's going to happen when you do that is it's going to spill over the top. So put it on a plate or something. And then again, every day for the first week or so, just check up on it, give it a little stir, top it off, and then it'll kind of settle after that, and you can leave it alone. Leave it in the coolest, darkest place you can, and let it steep. Let time do its magic.
It doesn't need to be refrigerated. Just
No.
cool pantry or something.
Yeah. And if it's a really hot day, maybe, or a hot summer.
Yeah, 'cause
You
I'm
know.
in Orange County. So.
Yeah, then maybe you'd want to keep it in the fridge, but it will be solid when you go to use it.
Yeah, so you'll
Is
just have to
the
like let
issue.
it warm up.
Yeah.
So then, because I'm realizing when you say all this, I'm making an oil in all the ways you're saying not to. What do I do if I go home and it's all moldy? Throw it away?
Just skim the mold off the top. Yeah, I wouldn't. It's really no big deal. Because usually the mold is only on the top. It just kind of floats on the surface, and you can get a spoon and just get rid of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had that happen plenty of times, and I've learned more over the years, like what to do to prevent the mold, so it doesn't happen so much anymore. And the stronger the aromatic properties of the herb, like this redwood and mugwort, they both smell really strongly. So again, they have a high essential oil content, and again, are highly antimicrobial. They're much less likely to mold. But a plant like St. John's wort doesn't really have a strong smell or a high essential oil content. It molds a lot more easily. I have to watch my St. John's wort oils more closely than redwood or any of the evergreens.
Where can you gather St. John's wort? Is it something that goes all over California, or just?
I don't really know.
Yeah, but I could probably look it up and find
Yeah.
local. I know we have mugwort where I live.
Where did you say you are again?
I'm in Laguna.
Laguna,
So
yeah.
we have mugwort in the canyon. But
St. John's wort and Hypericum, the same thing.
St. John's wort is
And
Hypericum
It's a
perforatum.
really popular ornamental, actually, in people's yards.
But that is not the
It's not the
medicinal
same one?
variety.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you would probably recognize
Right.
the ornamental variety. It's
Yeah, I'd
big.
always
Yeah.
wondered about that.
yeah, the medicinal is smaller and spindlier and taller.
Okay.
And you can know that you have found St. John's wort when you pinch it between your fingers and it leaves this deep red, like burgundy mark on your fingers.
Okay.
And the flowers are yellow, the leaves are green, but the oil is red. And that's the hypericin, that's the medicine in St. John's wort.
Interesting.
That's what's warming and helps to get rid of pain. St. John's wort is definitely my favorite herb to make into an oil. And pretty much any oil I use, anytime I oil, I'm going to add a little bit of St. John's wort to it as well.
I have another question for. I'm assuming you can do this, but because I made a calendula oil, and then I wanted to also infuse it with lemon balm, so that's what I'm doing now. Can you double infuse? Like, so once I've made the oil and strained it, then
Yeah.
infuse it again with another plant?
Yes, a lot of people double infuse. For some reason, I haven't done it, but it sounds lovely. You could even double infuse the same plant, to make like an extra
Stronger.
strong St. John's wort oil.
I see.
Yeah.
and this, it's like, 'cause I do natural dyes. Do you have to use a stainless steel funnel, or
No,
no? Okay.
I prefer to use glass and steel and not plastic when I'm making
Yeah,
medicine.
I usually have to use that kind of funnel. But
Yeah, especially oil because it can like be leaching.
yeah.
Yeah. These are all things you can get at any kitchen store.
Yeah.
So are you guys, looks like most of your jars are mostly filled up?
Yeah.
Is this enough?
Yeah.
Oh, mine is good.
Yeah, so 3/4 of the way is like the general thing, but if you only harvested enough that it fills halfway, that's fine. If you want to make it extra strong, you can fill it closer to full. Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty like relaxed about making herbal medicine. Like, I just think about the folk traditions that all of our ancestors knew. They weren't measuring things with kitchen scales. So, and plus it's just less stressful, especially when you're just starting out with herbal medicine. It can be like, am I doing it right? What is this? I need to look that up again. Where's my book? Just like cut yourself some slack and just make your medicine. Cut up your herb and pour your menstruum over it and you're good to
That's
go.
how I cook.
Yeah, just like it's easier to cook that way. It's easier to make medicine that way. So I have a jar of olive oil somewhere. Yes, this is it. Let's do all the pouring over this blanket because this blanket's mine. And if it spills, I'd rather it spill on this. But also, let's not spill it. I usually bring a funnel for this. But the one thing I forgot, packing for 2 weeks and teaching 8 classes, is the only thing I forgot. So Pretty good, yeah.
And you're pregnant. So.
Yeah. Yeah, so just look at how the air bubbles start right away. In the gallon jars, it's really fun to watch. It's like a bubbling cauldron.
So, where do you source your olive oil? Is it just regular wherever, or do you have a brand you feel strongly about?
I don't have a brand I feel strongly about. I get it from our local co-op in Grass Valley, and I buy it in bulk. So Napa is the company, Napa Naturals, that I can get it. It's extra virgin and it's organic. Thank you so much for being here. Both of these techniques are, again, so simple. I almost feel guilty, like sitting here like I know something. Because it should just be common knowledge. It should be something that the grandmothers and the mothers pass on to their daughters, and now it's something that you know and that you can teach the people in your life, because it's this simple. Use the plants around you for easy, nourishing, yummy smelling self-care, and teach the women in your life to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.